In the nascent years of the 20th century, nestled deep within the quiet confines of an isolated American rural township, Martha's Kitchen was far more than a simple place of sustenance. It was the very pulsating heart of a community bound by tradition and an intricate web of unspoken understandings. Her robust, almost guttural laughter, a constant, comforting rhythm against the gentle clatter of earthenware, echoed warmly through the timber walls, creating a symphony of domesticity that drew every soul within a mile's radius. Martha, a woman of formidable presence and an outwardly tender demeanor, presided over this bustling culinary sanctuary, her hands, gnarled by years of tireless, dedicated labor, weaving an almost alchemic magic into every dish she conjured. She was the undisputed anchor, the silent confidant, the revered matriarch, her authority as unquestioned as the rising sun itself. The rich, savory aromas perpetually wafting from her hearth offered a powerful promise of comfort, a potent balm against the harsh and unforgiving realities of a world slowly, reluctantly, moving forward. Yet, even within this idyllic facade of communal life, an unsettling undercurrent of something less palatable, more sinister, silently flowed, unseen by most. On a particularly humid Tuesday afternoon, the kitchen pulsed with an almost feverish activity, a testament to Martha's legendary hospitality. A hearty, deep red stew, its surface shimmering with a rich, dark fat, simmered enticingly over the ancient cast-iron stove, its unique, almost cloying aroma, subtly mingled with the scent of damp earth, permeating every single nook and cranny of the bustling room. Townsfolk, their faces alight with a mixture of anticipation and pure contentment, crowded around long, worn wooden tables, their spoons scraping a familiar, rhythmic tune against ceramic bowls. Amidst the cheerful chatter and appreciative murmurs that filled the air, a young drifter, recently arrived in town and entirely unaccustomed to its peculiar customs and rhythms, paused mid-bite, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. His brow furrowed almost imperceptibly as a strange, metallic tang, coupled with an unidentifiable, somewhat fibrous texture, lingered stubbornly on his tongue. He swallowed, dismissing it quickly as an unfamiliar local spice, a mere quirk of Martha's widely renowned culinary prowess. The unsettling moment passed, unremarked by the others, effortlessly swallowed by the overwhelming wave of conviviality. Years after departing for the bustling, intellectually vibrant cloisters of a distant university, Eleanor, Martha's inquisitive granddaughter, returned to this very town, her college-educated mind sharp, and her outsider's perspective unclouded by the dense fog of local superstitions and age-old loyalties. The familiar landscape of her childhood now appeared subtly altered, imbued with a quiet, almost pervasive melancholy she couldn't quite place. She immediately noted the unwavering, almost devotional affection the resident still harbored for her grandmother, a deep reverence that, upon closer inspection, bordered unsettlingly on a profound, ingrained fear. Yet, beneath this seemingly harmonious communal adoration, she perceived a palpable, strange tension, a collective unease that seemed to cling stubbornly to the very air itself. Empty, abandoned houses dotted the familiar, dusty streets like forgotten monuments to a hidden tragedy, their broken windows staring out like vacant, accusing eyes. When she inquired about their former inhabitants, an uncomfortable silence would descend, followed by vague answers about moving away or seeking new fortunes, never fully explaining the widespread desertion. The sheer number of these deserted dwellings, scattered without logical pattern across the once vibrant community, struck Eleanor as profoundly unsettling, a persistent enigma. It wasn't merely the natural attrition of time or poverty, but something far more insidious, meticulously unaddressed. No one offered a satisfactory explanation for the sudden desertion, merely shrugging off the eerie vacancies as an unavoidable consequence of progress, a convenient narrative for an inconvenient, horrifying truth. But as Eleanor, with her sharp, inquisitive mind, delved deeper, listening intently to the hushed, furtive conversations that rippled like unsettling currents through the town square, she began to catch distinct fragments of a more disturbing tale, a whispered legend, circulating like a contagion through generations, spoke darkly of her grandmother's infamous special ingredients, a secret no one else dared to name, a macabre, unspeakable component said to distinguish Martha's incomparable dishes. This unsettling whisper, a faint metallic echo barely audible above the everyday hum of village life, was invariably, disturbingly linked to the curious, almost methodical vanishing of various individuals throughout the preceding decades. Troublesome men, drifters without strong familial ties, or anyone Martha subtly, yet firmly, deemed a potential threat to her rigid, meticulously maintained order, or to her beloved, traditional family, simply faded from existence without a trace. Their sudden, convenient absence was quickly attributed to restless spirits seeking elusive fortunes in distant, glamorous cities, or, more darkly, to a convenient yet unspoken understanding that some souls simply, inherently, deserved to disappear from the fabric of society, the collective memory of the town, an intricate, fragile tapestry woven with threads of convenience, misguided loyalty, and profound, ingrained fear, seemed to effortlessly erase them. No official inquiry ever truly gained traction. The local justice system, often manipulated or entirely non-existent in this isolated pocket of the world, turned a conveniently blind eye to the unsettling pattern, ensuring the perpetuation of a grim, unspeakable secret. Eleanor, initially attempting to dismiss these unsettling accounts as mere village gossip, felt an increasing, persistent chill creep relentlessly down her spine as the sheer volume of such macabre tales steadily grew in frequency and disturbing detail. The once comforting scent of her grandmother's cooking, a powerful symbol of home and hearth from her earliest memories, now carried a faint, almost imperceptible metallic undertone, a subtle yet pervasive discord in the otherwise harmonious symphony of her cherished childhood. The oppressive, rhythmic clang of ladles against large, cast-iron pots in the bustling kitchen, once a reassuring, homely sound, now seemed to punctuate an almost unbearable silence, a silence heavy and suffocating, filled with countless unasked questions and a plethora of unvoiced, deeply ingrained fears. She observed the townsfolk, their smiles appearing increasingly fixed, almost painted on, their eyes conspicuously evasive whenever the subject of these disappearances arose, beginning to understand with chilling clarity that a deeper, far more sinister truth lay just beneath the placid surface of their seemingly ordinary, everyday lives, a truth so profoundly horrifying that no one dared to speak its name aloud. The chilling legend of Martha's Kitchen, a tale woven from threads of deception and unspoken horror, is an echo that, disturbingly, still resonates today, a powerful testament to the insidious, corroding power of generational secrets and collective complicity. It is a grim reminder that the most profound terrors often lurk not in shadowed forests or crumbling ruins, but within the comforting confines of hearth and home, sustained by the silence of a community. And since these profound stories, these meticulous investigations into the macabre corners of history, possess an uncanny ability to travel effortlessly through both time and space, reaching ears and minds far and wide across the globe, we invite you now to participate directly in this unfolding narrative. Tell us, in the comments section below, from which city you bravely join us in this unsettling, meticulous investigation, and what is the exact time as you read or listen to these words. With your vigilant presence now definitively marked and acknowledged, let us collectively, and with a shared sense of foreboding, return to the pivotal year of 1928. It is there, in the seemingly unremarkable ebb and flow of daily life, that we shall endeavor to uncover the insidious, almost imperceptible moment when the first crack in this carefully constructed facade of normalcy truly began to appear, irrevocably revealing the dark, beating heart of horror hidden so meticulously beneath. Eleanor, now firmly ensconced within the ancestral home, found her days unfolding into a complex tapestry, intricately woven with the comforting threads of domestic routine and subtle, unsettling anomalies. Her grandmother, a formidable paragon of unwavering domestic industry, moved through her bustling kitchen with a practiced, almost balletic grace, her hands perpetually busy, kneading the soft, yielding dough for fresh bread, meticulously chopping vibrant, garden-fresh vegetables, her every precise movement a testament to decades of unyielding culinary devotion. Yet, Eleanor's keen, observant eye Now sharpened and honed by years of rigorous academic scrutiny in a world far removed from this quiet village, began to detect a disturbing, almost obsessive meticulousness within Martha's daily rituals. The almost unnatural, blinding gleam on the well-used brass ladles, polished to an ethereal brilliance, spoke less of simple household care and more of a ritualistic, deeply ingrained reverence, a silent, almost sacred devotion to the very implements of her revered trade. This pervasive, almost fanatical precision, though outwardly appearing benign and utterly commonplace, cast a faint, almost imperceptible shadow of nascent unease over the otherwise outwardly warm, deeply inviting atmosphere of the ancient ancestral home, a subtle dissonance Eleanor found increasingly difficult to ignore or dismiss. The rhythmic clang of Martha's heavy ladles against the thick ceramic pots, once a mere background hum, now seemed to possess a peculiar, almost insistent quality, a percussive undercurrent to the quiet domesticity. Eleanor noticed the almost reverential care Martha bestowed upon certain kitchen utensils, each knife meticulously sharpened to a razor's edge, each wooden board scrubbed beyond any reasonable expectation of cleanliness. More tellingly, there was the pantry, a sturdy oak door, perpetually locked, its key conspicuously absent from any visible hook or drawer. Martha would access it with an almost furtive swiftness, emerging moments later, never explaining its contents, simply offering a dismissive wave of her hand when Eleanor, out of innocent curiosity, attempted to inquire. The unspoken message was clear. Some spaces, even within the confines of her grandmother's domain, remained resolutely off-limits, shrouded in an impenetrable veil of secrecy. Despite these nascent, private anxieties, the town itself remained largely oblivious, caught in the comforting embrace of its carefully constructed normalcy, a collective illusion of peace. The vibrant smells from Martha's kitchen continued to be the very heartbeat of their community, a potent symbol of continuity and well-being. However, the delicate facade of blissful unawareness began to show its first hairline cracks with the sudden, inexplicable disappearance of a young man, a drifter by the name of Silas Croft. Known for his restless spirit and occasionally contentious temperament, Silas, much like others before him, had been deemed troublesome by certain influential figures in the town, a designation that often preceded a convenient, though always inexplicable, vanishing. His absence, initially met with familiar dismissiveness, stirred the stagnant waters of old, uncomfortable rumors, rekindling whispers that had long lain dormant beneath the surface of communal amnesia. Eleanor, acutely aware of the town's ingrained patterns of selective memory and deliberate silence, observed the re-emerging rumors with a growing sense of disquiet. The official narrative, that Silas had simply moved on to seek his fortune in the big city, felt increasingly hollow, a worn-out refrain that no longer held its comforting power. Her rational, university-trained mind struggled to reconcile the apparent serenity of the village with the persistent, unsettling gaps in its human tapestry. The evasive glances, the abrupt changes in conversation whenever Silas's name or the string of previous disappearances arose, all spoke volumes without uttering a single incriminating word. It was a language of complicity, understood intuitively by every resident, and Eleanor, though an outsider to its unspoken rules, was now beginning to learn its chilling grammar. The peculiar, sweet aroma emanating from Martha's simmering stews, a fragrance once synonymous with childhood comfort and the warmth of home, began to assert itself with an unsettling persistence for Eleanor. It was no longer a vague undertone, but a distinct, almost cloying presence, metallic and subtly reminiscent of something organic, vaguely disquieting in its richness. It clung to the fabrics of the house, permeated the very air, and occasionally, when she caught an unexpected whiff, it evoked a nascent, almost visceral repulsion. This sensory discord, this persistent, unidentified note in the familiar symphony of home, served as a constant subliminal reminder that beneath the veneer of Martha's culinary genius, a deeper, perhaps more sinister ingredient infused every lovingly prepared dish, a secret no one dared to name. Yet everyone, on some subconscious level, perceived. One sweltering evening, during a chance encounter at the dilapidated general store, Eleanor found herself in the company of old Jeremiah Finch, a man whose memory was as long as his thirst for the local moonshine. His words, slurred and thick with the potent brew, were often dismissed as the rambling of an old fool, yet beneath the haze of alcohol, a discomfiting clarity sometimes emerged. Jeremiah, usually taciturn, seemed particularly agitated, his eyes, bloodshot and watery, darting nervously towards Martha's distant, ever-present silhouette across the dusty main street. He spoke in fragmented sentences, his voice barely a murmur above the buzzing cicadas, painting a grim portrait of a past carefully buried but never truly forgotten by those who lived through its chilling events. "Some folks," Jeremiah rasped, his voice a dry whisper that seemed to scratch against the humid air. "They tasted the best seasoning Martha ever put out. Best, I tell you." He paused, his gaze fixed on some unseen point in the distance, a shiver running through his gaunt frame despite the oppressive heat. And once they tasted it, they never wanted to leave, not ever. A grotesque, mirthless chuckle escaped his lips, a sound more akin to a cough, before he abruptly clammed up, his eyes widening with a sudden, alcohol-fueled terror, as if he had inadvertently invoked a forbidden spirit. He then stumbled away, leaving Eleanor standing amidst the dusty shelves, a cold dread blossoming in her stomach, his cryptic words echoing with a sinister resonance that chilled her to the bone. Jeremiah's chilling utterance, delivered with such an unsettling blend of lucidity and fear, pierced through Eleanor's analytical facade, connecting disparate pieces of information with an alarming, almost visceral jolt. The best seasoning, the never wanting to leave. These phrases now merged seamlessly with the whispered legends of special ingredients and the unsettling frequency of disappearances. She realized that the old man's words were not mere drunken ramblings, but a terrifying, albeit veiled, testament to a dark truth. This newfound, harrowing insight compelled her to seek more tangible evidence, something concrete that could either confirm her burgeoning suspicions or, she desperately hoped, utterly debunk them, allowing her to restore her grandmother's untainted image. Her search, initially hesitant, soon gained an urgent, almost desperate momentum. Rummaging through an old, forgotten trunk in the attic, amidst yellowed lace and brittle postcards, she discovered a faded photograph. It depicted a youthful, vibrant woman, her smile radiant, her arm intimately linked with a handsome, stern-faced man. Eleanor recognized the woman immediately. Sarah Jenkins, one of the earliest, disappeared, who supposedly left to never return after a bitter dispute over land. The man, however, was a shock. Daniel Miller, a charismatic itinerant preacher who had arrived in town years later, only to vanish without a trace himself. His departure attributed to the call of a higher purpose. The intertwining fates, captured in a single, silent image, pulsed with an undeniable, chilling significance. The photograph, a tangible link between two seemingly unconnected disappearances, solidified Eleanor's growing suspicion, transforming vague unease into a cold, hard certainty. The quiet domesticity of Martha's home, the comforting aroma of her stews, the seemingly benign rituals, all now felt like a carefully constructed facade, a grotesque theatrical set designed to conceal an unspeakable horror. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly, inexorably, beginning to align, painting a disturbing picture that defied rational explanation. Eleanor knew, with a certainty that both terrified and galvanized her, that the answers lay buried not in distant cities or forgotten pasts, but within the very walls of the house, perhaps even within the formidable heart of Martha herself. The quiet normalcy of the town was a mere shroud, thinly draped over a deeply sinister, long-kept secret. The kitchen, usually a vibrant tableau of culinary activity and communal cheer, now adopted a quieter, more domestic rhythm as Eleanor offered to assist Martha with the arduous, though deeply traditional, task of its seasonal deep cleaning. Sunlight, filtered through the dust motes dancing in the humid air, illuminated Martha's gnarled hands as they moved with practiced efficiency across the worn wooden surfaces, scrubbing away years of accumulated grime and the persistent, sweet-sour scent of countless past meals. For Eleanor, this shared labor, ostensibly a moment of intergenerational bonding, was instead fraught with a heightened tension. her senses acutely tuned to any discordant note in the seemingly harmonious domestic symphony. Every clang of a pot, every lingering aroma that subtly mingled with the faint metallic tang she had come to associate with her grandmother's cooking, now served to amplify the insidious whispers of suspicion that coiled relentlessly within her, tightening their grip on her rational mind. Their meticulous work eventually led them to a seldom-used corner, where an array of aged, forgotten kitchen implements lay gathering dust, patiently awaiting their annual ritual of purification. Among these forgotten relics, a particularly massive, antique pressure cooker, its heavy brass fittings tarnished with decades of disuse, caught Martha's discerning eye. "This old girl," Martha murmured, her voice laced with an unexpected, almost tender reverence, as she carefully lifted the formidable vessel, its weight a testament to an earlier era of robust culinary craftsmanship. She hasn't seen proper use in years, but she's still got good service left in her yet. A little elbow grease is all she needs. Eleanor, her hands already sticky with the residue of old grease and the pervasive, cloying sweetness, began the painstaking process of polishing its intricate, almost sculptural exterior, her movements precise and deliberate. It was as Eleanor's fingers, guided by an instinct she couldn't fully articulate, traced the contours of the pressure cooker's base, that she noticed a peculiar unevenness, a slight give in the aged metal. A closer inspection revealed a cleverly disguised seam, almost imperceptible to the casual glance, hinting at a hidden compartment. Her heart rate quickened imperceptibly as she pressed firmly, and with a soft, almost inaudible click, a small section of the base yielded, revealing a shallow cavity. Nestled within this secret recess, shrouded in a thin layer of fine metallic dust, lay a small, rusted locket. Its surface was corroded, its delicate chain snapped, yet its form was undeniably familiar. The cold, heavy metal felt profoundly ancient in her trembling hand, a tangible relic dredged from a forgotten abyss. Eleanor's breath hitched in her throat as her thumb instinctively brushed against the locket's tarnished surface. Despite the ravages of time and neglect, the faded, almost ghostly engraving on its front was still discernible, the single ink-stylized initial S. A wave of profound, bone-chilling realization washed over her, chilling her blood far more effectively than any draft. This was no ordinary trinket. It was the very locket Sarah Jenkins, the vibrant woman from the faded photograph, had been known to wear constantly, a cherished possession mentioned in hushed tones by old Jeremiah. The sweet aroma of Martha's cooking, so pervasive and comforting moments before, now morphed into an acrid, metallic stench in Eleanor's perception, a macabre perfume of unearthed truth. The comfortable kitchen suddenly felt suffocating, a silent witness to a horror long contained. A sharp clatter, the abrupt sound of a dropped ceramic bowl, shattered the tense silence that had momentarily enveloped Eleanor. Martha, who had been methodically scrubbing a large wooden cutting board just moments before Ine, now stood perfectly still, her back to Eleanor, her posture rigid, an unnatural stillness descending upon her formidable frame. Though she had uttered no sound, no word, Eleanor felt an immediate, primal shift in the atmospheric pressure of the room, a palpable alteration in the air that spoke volumes. It was as if her grandmother possessed an uncanny, almost supernatural awareness, an unspoken perception that something profoundly significant, something that irrevocably threatened the meticulously constructed edifice of their domestic tranquility, had just been irrevocably disturbed. The very air grew heavy, pregnant with unvoiced questions. Summoning a reserve of courage she didn't know she possessed, Eleanor turned, the rusted locket clutched tightly in her palm, its cold metal a stark counterpoint to the sudden heat of her rising conviction. "Grandma," she began, her voice unexpectedly steady, though a tremor vibrated just beneath the surface of her carefully controlled composure. "What is this? This belonged to Sarah Jenkins, didn't it? The one who supposedly left town decades ago, vanishing without a trace, her absence quietly absorbed into the fabric of communal memory." She held the locket out, its tarnished face reflecting the dim light, a tiny, undeniable, damning piece of evidence that defied any casual dismissal or convenient explanation. The question hung in the humid air, a razor-sharp blade poised to sever the fragile threads of family loyalty and unspoken agreement that had bound them together in a grotesque silence for far too long, demanding an answer that no one was truly prepared to hear. Martha slowly turned, her movements deliberate, almost performative, her face a mask of inscrutability that belied the sudden, chilling intensity in her eyes. The warmth that usually softened her features had vanished, replaced by a gaze that was hard, cold, and utterly devoid of the familial affection Eleanor had known her entire life. It was a look of unyielding resolve, of ancient, unshakable stone. Her lips, usually quick to offer a comforting word or a sharp retort, were pressed into a thin, unyielding line, revealing nothing. The only sound in the now unnaturally silent kitchen was the faint, rhythmic drip of a leaky faucet and the distant, almost imperceptible hum of the oppressive summer heat, magnifying the profound weight of the unspoken tension that now stretched taut between grandmother and granddaughter, a sinister, silent acknowledgement of an imminent confrontation. After what felt like an eternity, Martha finally spoke, her voice lower than usual, laced with an unfamiliar edge, almost a rasp, yet meticulously controlled. "That old thing," she scoffed, a brittle, dismissive sound that failed to mask the underlying tension. "A trinket, child. Nothing more. Sarah was always a flighty one. Must have left it behind when she ran off with that traveling salesman, eager to escape the drudgery of village life. Such things happen, you know. People move on. They forget their past. No need to dwell on old gossip. It serves no one." Her explanation was delivered with a practiced ease, a well-worn narrative, yet it lacked the genuine warmth, the subtle details that would have rendered it truly convincing, leaving it feeling hollow and utterly transparent to Eleanor's now skeptical ears. Eleanor's grip tightened on the locket, its cold presence a stark reminder of the fragile facade her grandmother so desperately tried to maintain. The vague, evasive words, the hardened gaze, the abrupt shift in Martha's demeanor, all coalesced into an undeniable, chilling confirmation of her darkest fears. This was not the dismissive affection of a loving grandmother. It was the calculated deflection of someone guarding an unspeakable secret, a fortress of lies built over decades of macabre deeds. The kitchen, once a symbol of Martha's nurturing love, now felt like an elaborate stage where a horrifying performance had been meticulously orchestrated for years. The comfortable aromas, the sounds of domesticity, now carried a distinct, sickening overtone, a profound stench of betrayal and unspeakable truths. The small, tarnished locket, once an innocuous piece of forgotten jewelry, had, in a single, terrifying instant, transformed into the irrefutable, metallic key to a deeply buried history, irrevocably shattering the placid surface of their uneasy normalcy. It was a physical manifestation of the whispered legend, a cold, hard proof that the special ingredients were far more sinister than any village gossip could have ever conceived. The silence in the kitchen was no longer merely a pause in conversation. It was a vast, echoing chasm that opened between Eleanor and her grandmother, filled with unspoken accusations and a profound, bone-chilling dread. The carefully constructed world of Martha's comforting culinary haven, a sanctuary built on generations of trust, now teetered precariously on the precipice of utter, horrific revelation. The discovery of Sarah Jenkins's locket served as an irrefutable, chilling catalyst, dismantling the fragile facade of domestic tranquility Eleanor had, until that point, desperately clung to. The once comforting scent of Martha's hearty cooking, a nostalgic anchor to her childhood, now seemed to possess a cloying, metallic undertone that clung persistently to the very fabric of the home, transforming the bustling kitchen into an unsettling tableau. Every familiar object, every meticulously polished utensil, now subtly hummed with an unspoken, insidious tension, radiating a grim potential for revelation. Eleanor's initial fear swiftly transmuted into a steely, analytical resolve bow, compelling her to perceive her grandmother's domain not as a sanctuary, but as a meticulously orchestrated crime scene, its secrets deliberately, chillingly entombed beneath layers of comforting routine and communal silence. Her investigation commenced with an almost imperceptible discretion, a shadow-like scrutiny of Martha's established rhythms. Eleanor observed her grandmother with a newfound, almost forensic intensity, noting the chilling precision with which every meal was prepared, every ingredient handled with a reverence that now seemed profoundly disturbing. The sturdy, oak-paneled pantry, perpetually locked and guarded with an almost ritualistic vigilance, became an immediate focal point of her burgeoning suspicions. Its heavy, unyielding door, a formidable barrier to its unseen contents, seemed to mock her burgeoning curiosity, embodying the very essence of the town's ingrained secrecy. The faint, sweet aroma of Martha's culinary creations, once a source of deep comfort, now felt like a suffocating shroud, thick with unvoiced questions and a nascent dread. Eleanor ventured tentatively into the labyrinthine alleys of village memory, seeking out the oldest residents, those whose lives had unfolded within the shadow of Martha's formidable influence. Her inquiries, framed with an outwardly innocent curiosity about local history, were invariably met with a palpable, almost chilling reticence. Old Man Hemlock, his eyes rheumy with age and a lifetime of unspoken observations, merely shuddered when Martha's name was mentioned in conjunction with the vanished. "Some things," he rasped, his voice a dry whisper that seemed to dissipate into the humid afternoon air, "are better left buried, child. Digging too deep only unearths what the earth itself tried to forget. You wouldn't want to know the true seasoning of these parts." His words, heavy with foreboding, were a stark testament to the pervasive fear that silenced the community, a fear more potent than any direct threat. The pervasive silence of the town, once perceived as a charming attribute of rural life, now pressed in on Eleanor with the suffocating weight of complicity, an unspoken pact to preserve the horrifying status quo. Every averted gaze, every abrupt change in conversation when the topic of disappearances arose, reinforced the chilling understanding that the entire community was an unwitting, or perhaps even unwilling, accomplice in a monstrous charade. Eleanor, an outsider by virtue of her education and absence, found herself increasingly isolated, a solitary figure navigating a treacherous landscape of carefully guarded secrets and generations of ingrained, misguided loyalty. The gentle hum of cicadas in the oppressive summer heat seemed to underscore her profound solitude, a constant, eerie reminder of the pervasive unease. Her methodical search soon led her to the dilapidated town hall, a crumbling edifice whose dusty archives housed the brittle, forgotten records of generations past. The air within was thick with the scent of decaying paper and stagnant dust, a fitting aroma for a place where inconvenient truths were often left to molder into oblivion. The local clerk, a perpetually bored and officious man named Mr. Abernathy, viewed Eleanor's persistent requests for obscure land deeds and birth certificates with suspicion, his bureaucratic resistance a reflection of the town's inherent aversion to scrutiny. Yet, armed with a researcher's tenacity, Eleanor meticulously sifted through ledger after ledger, her gloved fingers gingerly turning brittle pages that whispered tales of forgotten lives. It was amidst a stack of neglected agricultural records, tucked away on a top shelf behind a pile of ancient tax receipts, that Eleanor's gaze finally settled upon a peculiar leather-bound volume. Its cover, once a rich, deep brown, was now faded and cracked, its spine meticulously embossed with the faded inscription, "Household Accounts and Provisions, M. Albright." A shiver of premonition traced its way down her spine. The ledger, heavy and cold in her hands, felt profoundly old, its weight imbued with the unspoken history of decades, a silent, weighty testament to Martha's meticulous management of her domestic sphere, which, Eleanor now suspected, extended far beyond simple household expenditures. Within the ledger's yellowed pages, Martha's distinctive, elegant script flowed with an almost artistic precision, documenting expenses ranging from sugar and flour to seeds and feed for livestock. However, intermingled with these mundane entries, Eleanor began to discern a chilling pattern. Starting in the early 1920s, with increasing frequency, appeared entries meticulously labeled bulk meat acquisition or special provisions, local source, often followed by unusually large, round sums of money. For instance, an entry dated on October 14, 1923, special provisions, local source, 30 lbs, $15, perfectly coincided with the documented disappearance of a drifter named Thomas Miller, a man known for his transient lifestyle and lack of local connections, his absence barely warranting a whisper beyond the town's periphery. The horrifying implication of these meticulously logged meat expenses slammed into Eleanor with the force of a physical blow. The methodical precision, the clinical nomenclature revealed a mind not merely committing acts of violence, but meticulously documenting them, transforming human lives into quantifiable commodities. The ledger was not merely a record of expenditures. It was a chilling chronicle of dehumanization, a grotesque inventory of those Martha deemed provisions. The names of the vanished, once dismissed as unfortunate souls who simply moved on, now resonated with the macabre weight of having been tragically reduced to mere units of flesh, their individual humanity meticulously erased and then documented as a culinary expense. Martha, a woman of profound intuition and an almost predatory perceptiveness, honed over decades of quiet manipulation, swiftly perceived the shift in Eleanor's demeanor, the nascent suspicion clouding her granddaughter's eyes, the subtle change in Eleanor's questions, the prolonged silences, the unusual interest in seemingly forgotten details, all registered in Martha's calculating mind. A quiet tension, almost imperceptible to an untrained observer, began to weave itself into the comfortable rhythm of their daily interactions, a silent dance of suspicion and guarded observation. Martha's gaze, though often feigning casual warmth, now carried an underlying, almost imperceptible glint of watchful scrutiny, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken conflict that was slowly, inexorably, beginning to brew beneath the surface. In an attempt to subtly disarm Eleanor, Martha increased her displays of overt affection, her voice a balm of familial warmth as she reminisced about Eleanor's childhood, recounting cherished anecdotes from years past, painting a picture of an idyllic, uncomplicated life within the protective embrace of family. She would regale Eleanor with tales of their shared ancestry, emphasizing the unbreakable bonds of blood and tradition, subtly appealing to Eleanor's sense of loyalty and belonging. These carefully orchestrated moments, ostensibly acts of grandmotherly love, were in reality strategic maneuvers, designed to pull Eleanor back into the comforting, yet suffocating, embrace of the family narrative, to divert her attention from the unsettling questions that gnawed at her. Yet, beneath this veneer of doting affection, lay a substratum of thinly veiled warnings, delivered with Martha's characteristic blend of authority and subtle menace. A family's good name, she would often remark, her eyes fixed on some distant, unseen point, is a fragile thing, easily shattered by careless hands or idle gossip. There are consequences, child, for digging into matters best left undisturbed. Some truths, no matter how tempting, carry a heavy price, especially when they touch upon the honor of those who built this family from the ground up. The words, though seemingly innocuous, were delivered with a cold precision that stripped them of any pretense of benign advice, leaving Eleanor with a chilling understanding of their true, sinister intent. Eleanor, however, was no longer the impressionable child Martha remembered. Her academic training had instilled in her a relentless pursuit of truth, a rational defiance against the seductive power of comfortable lies. Martha's manipulative tactics, once capable of swaying her, now only strengthened her resolve. The locket, the ledger, the evasive townsfolk, all pointed to an unspeakable horror, and Eleanor knew with a chilling certainty that the full, unvarnished truth resided not merely in public records, but in the most intimate, secret archives of her grandmother's own twisted psyche. Her next target was clear: Martha's personal writings, particularly any journals or diaries she might have meticulously maintained over the decades. Her search for Martha's diary, a perilous undertaking conducted under the ever-watchful, though often feigned, unawareness of her grandmother, required an almost surgical stealth. Eleanor knew Martha would never leave such a damning document in plain sight. After days of meticulous, furtive searching, she finally located it concealed within a false bottom of an antique hope chest in Martha's bedroom, nestled beneath layers of intricately embroidered linens and dried lavender. It was a thick, leather-bound volume, its dark cover embossed with faded gold filigree, secured by a rusted, intricate clasp. Its pages, initially crisp and white, were yellowed with the passage of time, bearing the unmistakable patina of decades of intimate, secret confessions. The diary, written in Martha's familiar, elegant script, initially presented a facade of domesticity, chronicling the mundane rhythms of daily life, garden plans, and town gossip. However, as Eleanor delved deeper, the entries began to shift, subtly at first, then with increasing, horrifying clarity. Martha's meticulousness, once a comforting trait, transformed into a chilling testament to her methodical cruelty. Entries that began as innocent notations about new recipes or winter provisions gradually evolved into clinical, detached descriptions of the preparation of her special ingredients, a grotesque euphemism for human flesh. The emotional detachment in the prose was perhaps the most disturbing aspect of all. One entry, dated November 21, 1928, read with a horrifying precision. The new provision proved surprisingly tender, requiring minimal brining. A rich, dark marinade, infused with thyme and juniper, was applied with meticulous care. The aroma, though distinct, promises a robust flavor for the coming winter stew. The final stages of preparation were overseen with the usual attention to detail, ensuring full utilization. The chilling euphemisms, the clinical tone, and the explicit mention of utilization left no room for doubt. Martha's diary was a meticulous log of her culinary atrocities, a grotesque cookbook detailing the processing of her victims. Each entry, composed with an almost academic detachment, served as an irrefutable testament to her cold, calculating malevolence. Further entries revealed Martha's twisted philosophy, a macabre justification for her unspeakable acts. She wrote of weeding the garden of humanity, of ridding the community of undesirables and troublesome elements that threatened her rigid order or defied her moral code. She believed she was enacting a form of divine justice, transforming those she deemed unworthy into the very sustenance of the town, binding them to her in the most grotesque and permanent way imaginable. The diary was a terrifying window into a mind consumed by a megalomaniacal vision of control, a chilling testament to her self-appointed role as judge, jury, and executioner, whose kitchen became an altar of sacrificial sustenance for her unsuspecting community. Driven by a sickening compulsion, Eleanor turned her investigation to the meticulously tended backyard garden, a vibrant tableau of burgeoning life that had always been Martha's pride and joy. The rich, dark earth, lovingly tilled and fertilized over decades, felt profoundly unsettling beneath Eleanor's feet. The sweet scent of blooming roses and damp soil, usually a source of peace, now mingled with the faint, persistent metallic tang she had come to associate with the housing, creating a discordant sensory experience that tightened the knot of dread in her stomach. She began to sift through the soil, her bare hands plunging into the cool, yielding earth, searching for any anomaly, any tangible link to the horrors documented in the ledger and diary. Her search was methodical, her fingers raking through the fertile soil beneath a particularly ancient rose bush, its thorny branches twisting like gnarled, accusing fingers. It was there, just beneath the surface, that she discovered them. Small, irregular fragments, glinting dully in the dappled sunlight. A corroded button, a tiny piece of a shoe buckle, and then, unmistakably, a brittle, unjagged shard of what appeared to be bone, smoothed and bleached by time and the elements. The garden, once a symbol of life and natural abundance, now revealed itself as a silent, verdant burial ground, a final, horrifying confirmation that the whispers, the ledgers, and the diary were not mere fictions, but the chilling truth of Martha's unspeakable crimes, literally sown into the very earth she nurtured. The fragments of bone, the corroded button, the slivers of metal unearthed from the fertile soil of Martha's meticulously tended garden, coalesced into an undeniable, horrifying mosaic of truth. Each discovery chipped away at Eleanor's last vestiges of doubt, replacing it with a cold, unyielding certainty that the pantry, the very heart of Martha's culinary dominion, held the final, most damning secrets. Its sturdy oak door, once a symbol of domestic privacy, now loomed as an impenetrable barrier behind which unimaginable horrors resided, a tangible manifestation of the town's collective complicity and its profound, ingrained fear, driven by a desperate, almost visceral need to fully comprehend the macabre symphony of her grandmother's kitchen. Eleanor knew with chilling clarity that this locked chamber was the only remaining bastion guarding the unspeakable, tragic truth. Its opening was no longer a matter of mere curiosity, but a solemn, inescapable obligation. One suffocating afternoon, under the pretense of retrieving forgotten preserves, Eleanor approached the pantry door, a heavy iron pry bar concealed beneath her apron. The air, thick with the cloying sweetness that perpetually clung to the house, now felt infused with a metallic tang that made her stomach churn. Her heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs, each beat echoing the profound gravity of her impending action. With a deliberate, almost ritualistic precision, she inserted the cold, unyielding metal into the narrow gap between the ancient wood and its formidable frame, feeling the faint tremor of centuries of secrets held captive within its dark confines. A strained grunt escaped her lips as she applied immense pressure, the wood groaning in protest, reluctantly yielding its grip on the unspeakable. A deafening, splintering sound tore through the oppressive silence of the house as the old lock finally gave way, its rusted mechanism snapping with a startling finality. The oak door, long a sentinel guarding a perverse truth, slowly creaked open, revealing not a cheerful larder stocked with provisions, but a gaping maw of profound, suffocating darkness, a blast of frigid, stagnant air, heavy with an intensified version of that cloying, metallic aroma, assaulted Eleanor's senses, instantly enveloping her in its nauseating embrace. The scent, now unmasked and raw, was a grotesque symphony of decay and a sweet, almost sickly sweet putrescence that burned her nostrils, evoking a deep, primal repulsion that clawed at the back of her throat, threatening to overwhelm her. Eleanor, her breath shallow and ragged, fumbled for the oil lamp she had brought, its flickering light pushing back against the oppressive gloom. The beam cut through the thick, musty air, revealing not shelves of canned goods, but a meticulously organized chamber of unspeakable horror. Along one wall, glinting malevolently in the dim light, hung an array of tools unlike any she had ever seen in a kitchen: an oversized bone saw, hooks of varying sizes, and an assortment of sharp, curved blades, all polished to a terrifying, surgical gleam. The damp air, thick with the palpable weight of unspeakable acts, seemed to vibrate with a silent testament to their chilling purpose, their cold, hard surfaces reflecting not light, but a profound, unfeeling cruelty. Her gaze, now transfixed by a macabre fascination, drifted further into the cavernous space. On a solid butcher's block, stained dark with ancient, indelible residue, lay what could only be described as processed human remains. There were carefully portioned cuts, unnaturally pale and meticulously trimmed, awaiting their grotesque transformation. A half-rendered torso, eerily similar to a pig carcass, hung from a sturdy hook, its skin stretched taut and glistening, a stark and chilling testament to the methodical dismemberment. The secret ingredient, the whispered horror that had haunted the town for decades, lay exposed in its raw, visceral truth, a profound and sickening revelation that twisted Eleanor's stomach into knots of visceral revulsion, making her want to scream, yet her voice was frozen. Adjacent to the butcher's block stood a row of large, industrial-grade freezers, their metallic surfaces humming with a low, mechanical growl that seemed to mock the profound silence of the room. With trembling hands, Eleanor unlatched one, pulling open its heavy door. Inside, meticulously arranged on metal trays, were packages of what appeared to be prime cuts of meat, each meticulously wrapped in brown paper and labeled with Martha's elegant script. The chilling precision of the labels, bearing names like sirloin of Silas or tenderloin of Thomas, transformed the contents into a grotesque archive of human lives, each disappearance a morbid entry in her grandmother's abominable inventory, a testament to her chilling efficiency and utter lack of remorse. In the deepest corner of the pantry, almost hidden from plain sight, Eleanor discovered an improvised altar. It was a crude wooden crate draped with a tattered cloth, adorned with wilting wildflowers that seemed a cruel mockery of life. Upon it, scattered haphazardly yet reverently, were faded photographs of the victims: Sarah Jenkins, Silas Croft, Thomas Miller, and many others, their faces frozen in time, eternally unaware of their horrific fate. Beneath each photo, scrawled on yellowed scraps of paper, were Martha's justifications: a reprobate, corrupting the youth, a leech, draining the community, a liar, deserving of ultimate silence. The altar was a chilling testament to Martha's self-appointed role as judge, jury, and executioner, her twisted sense of moral superiority sickeningly palpable. As Eleanor stood frozen in this Dantean tableau, a soft, almost imperceptible click echoed from behind her, the sound of the pantry door swinging gently shut. A wave of profound, suffocating dread washed over her, chilling her to the bone. She spun around, her heart leaping into her throat, to find Martha standing in the now dimly lit doorway, her silhouette framed by the faint light filtering from the kitchen. Her grandmother's face, usually so expressive, was eerily calm, a mask of unyielding serenity that belied the horror of the scene. Her eyes, however, held a chilling gleam of knowing, a quiet triumph that sent a shiver of profound terror down Eleanor's spine, sealing her fate within this chamber of death. Martha's voice, when it came, was a soft, almost melodic hum, utterly devoid of anger or remorse, yet resonating with an unspeakable, chilling authority. "So, you found my little sanctuary, my dear Eleanor," she stated, her words devoid of any genuine surprise, almost as if she had anticipated this moment for decades. "You have always been so perceptive, so intent on peeling back the layers, but some truths, child, are not meant for the faint of heart. This is not merely a pantry. It is the crucible of justice, the very forge where I reshape the destiny of this town. A truth more potent and profound than any you could have imagined in your university halls." Her gaze swept over the gruesome scene, lingering on the labeled packages in the freezers, a flicker of perverse pride in her ancient eyes. "You see, this town was once a garden, pure and untainted, but men, dissolute and grasping, began to poison its roots, to defile the sanctity of our traditions, the honor of our family." Her voice hardened with a chilling conviction, the memory of some ancient slight fueling her righteous fury. There was an outrage, a transgression against our very lineage, an injustice the law refused to acknowledge. So, I became the law. I became the silent guardian, pruning the bad seeds, ensuring that only the strong, the true, would remain. Martha then calmly, with a chillingly detached demeanor, began to describe her methods, her voice taking on the cadence of a meticulous culinary instructor. They were so easily lured, the troublesome ones, the ones whose absence would cause no ripples. A warm meal, a kind word, a promise of comfort, then a quick, merciful sedative. The processing, my dear, is an art form. Every cut precise, every portion utilized, no waste. It is a testament to respect, in its own way, for the raw material. The bones, the unusable parts, return to the earth, enriching the garden, giving back to the soil from which life springs. A cycle, you see, a perfect, self-sustaining ecosystem of justice. A faint, almost wistful smile touched Martha's lips as she gestured around the macabre chamber. And the philosophy, Eleanor, is the heart of it all. By transforming these undesirables into the very sustenance of the town, I bind them to me, to this community, forever. They become part of the land, part of the people, their very essence absorbed into the collective. They feed us, they sustain us, whether they know it or not. It is the ultimate control, the purest form of justice, ensuring that even in their defiant absence, they serve a higher purpose, contributing to the strength and purity of our town. A communion, if you will, forged in bone and blood. Eleanor listened, her mind reeling. Every word Martha uttered a hammer blow against the last vestiges of her sanity. The sickening logic, the clinical detachment, the twisted moral code. It was a horror far more profound than she could have ever conceived. Her grandmother, the matriarch revered by the town, was a monster of unimaginable cunning and cruelty. Her kitchen an altar of human sacrifice. Her legacy a grotesque tapestry woven with the flesh of her victims. The sweet, metallic aroma that had always clung to the house now felt like a suffocating shroud, a constant, sickening reminder of the unspeakable truths revealed in this chilling, abyssal chamber. Martha stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with an almost feverish intensity, a profound sense of self-righteousness radiating from her every pore. And now, my dear granddaughter, you understand the true weight of my love, the depth of my sacrifice for this family, for this town. The question is, Eleanor, what will you do with this profound knowledge? Will you uphold the honor, the sanctity of our lineage, or will you shatter the delicate balance I have so painstakingly maintained? The choice, my dear, is now irrevocably yours, and its consequences will echo through the generations, just as my work has done. The words hung in the frigid air, a chilling, inescapable ultimatum.